Was John written by an eyewitness and transmitted by multiple people? And
Not John.
so you don't accept John to be reliable?
Synoptic Gospels.
So do you accept information in the book of John, the Gospel of John rather, reliable?
It's not an
No,
eyewitness.
if you're not using it, I'm sorry. Yeah, no worries, man. No worries. No worries.
Yeah. Sorry. What's your name, sorry?
Archie.
Mansur, of course. So do you consider the Gospel of John to be providing us with reliable information, historical information?
Depends. If you're talking about reliable information of what people believed at the time, yes. If you're talking about eyewitnesses of Jesus, it wasn't an eyewitness account of Jesus. But
I don't mean reliable what people
at the
thought.
time, yes.
I don't think, when I say reliable information of history, I mean the truth about history.
Yes, but the people at the time of Jesus are more reliable than the people of Arabia who followed Muhammad.
That's the question. Whenever we look at any information of the past, historical past, we want reliable information, mean the true history that happened. Not what people thought at that time. People at that time thought there was Isis and Osiris in the Egyptian history, right? But that's not real history. That's not the truth, is it? Because there is no such God as Isis and Osiris. Do you believe there's a God called Isis and Osiris? No. Of course not. So information, when people believe it's true at that time, it's not necessarily meaning that's the truth of information.
The thing is that the people who died for Jesus after witnessing him, that itself is evidence. And
John's Gospel.
No one died.
So let's just understand the Bible was reliable. Start with Gospel of John. Is the Gospel of John giving us true historical information?
Yes, well, I think so, yeah. I think so.
Yeah?
Because
Okay.
it's backed by other...
But it doesn't have early attestation. It's late.
How do you mean? It's not, what do you mean?
What do historians say about who wrote John and when was John writing?
He wasn't an eyewitness.
Yeah, so it's not an early eyewitness
I don't know
writing.
the exact date.
Yeah, so it's a writing by someone who's not an eyewitness. So then we already have a layer of uncertainty.
He was an eyewitness to the times. He was there and he saw what people did, what they prayed.
Whatever he say, is it backed up by other writings?
The Gospels, the other Gospels.
Other writings? Why is it not called a synoptic gospel?
Also Acts.
Why is the Gospel of John not called a synoptic gospel?
I don't know, you tell me.
That's your book.
Because it's, well, you're the one answering the question.
Because it doesn't have all the same kind of information content that you would expect from history. So John's Gospel, according to historians, is a projection of John putting his own word, the word of John, into the mouth of Jesus, not historical. If you talk about history, that's what historians say.
Couldn't you say the same about the Quran?
We're not discussing the Quran now. Let's not conflate this. So looking at the Bible, so the Bible is not a reliable piece of information according to the historian. The Gospel of John, for example.
Why is the Quran?
No, we'll come back later. Let's deal with the Bible. Once we now know what the Bible is like and whether it's reliable or unreliable, then we can move on. So, for example, Gospel of John, according to the historians, they say the writer projects his own words into the mouth of Jesus, which the historical Jesus didn't say.
Well, it aligns with the synoptics.
No. There are many things which doesn't align, and that's why it's outside. I don't need to, because what I'm asking you to do is this. Listen.
It is evidence. Evidence.
Why is it not called a synoptic gospel? It's a well-known study in the gospel, the Jesus or historical or textual criticism, in which you have the three gospels called the synoptic gospels, and John is not considered by the scholarship, by historians. That's for a reason, because it doesn't align with everything with the other gospels. The other gospels do, that's why they're included with the synoptic tradition.
Why do you only care about John? Why is the focus?
No, I'm just showing you, I picked up arbitrarily a book from the Bible showing you how it doesn't provide us with reliable historical information.
Can you analyze it instead of making it clear?
That's what the scholars have analyzed.
No, you need to give examples.
The scholars have given example. All his sayings about what Jesus said, for example, none of the other gospels say what he says. All the I am sayings you aren't able to find in the other synoptic gospels.
Yes, this is
so
the thing.
I've just told you. The I am sayings.
I need evidence.
That's the evidence. The I am this, I am that. All of this I am sayings in the Gospel of John, you can't find them in the other three gospels.
How many I am sayings are there?
since you don't...
Before Abraham was I am.
Look. No. I am this, I am that. When he's describing about himself, you would expect...
The truth and the light.
You would expect, if someone walks around in history and is saying, I am this and I am that, this information, if it's heard by various people, they will be repeating it. The fact that John is isolated in this and none other gospel writers, do you know how many gospels there were written at that time? Or within the, say, first 200 years? How many gospels were written?
There are a few forgeries.
Why are there forgeries and who forged them?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Okay.
Go on, tell me.
It's interesting that you say forgeries. Did these people who wrote, like the Gospel of St. Thomas, Gospel of Philip, Gospel of Mary, Gospel of Infancy, Gospel of Judas, and various others, the people who wrote them, it looks like they believed in that figure called Jesus. And you call it forgery. I have the same question for you. The Gospels that you currently believe, which is in the Bible now, also written by people who believed in Jesus. Why isn't that a forgery?
Because they're eyewitness accounts, first of all.
John is not an eyewitness.
Yes.
So is that a forgery?
Okay, the synoptics.
No. Let's stick with John. Once we agree on something, is John a forgery? It's not an eyewitness.
It's certainly less of a forgery than the Quran.
Hang on, we're not discussing with the Quran. It's not going to help you here right now. Your allusion to Quran is not going to help your problem.
But you're trying to persuade me to believe in the Quran. So
No. I'm trying to understand your position as a Christian. Why are you a Christian? Why do you not identify yourself as a Muslim?
Okay, look, I'm going to need to go home and analyze it myself. Could you give me some examples?
Okay, so let's deal with the other three Gospels.
Yeah.
Okay, Gospel of Matthew. He gives us, at the first page of his Gospel, I'm going to give you three examples, and this is example number one. He tells you these are all the genealogies of people, all the way to Jesus Christ and so on, right? And he makes people, and he says these are all the generations from Abraham to David, from David to the exile to Babylon, and from that to Jesus Christ. 3 steps of 14 generations. He says these are all the generations. The problem is, that's not historically true. That's an error or a deliberate distortion. So either you say he made an error in the first book of his gospel by saying these are all the generations, or he's actually telling information which is incorrect, meaning a lie.
Where is it proven to be a lie? Or
Yeah. So when we look at the Old Testament book of Chronicles, yeah, chapter 3, for example, verses 15, 16, thereabouts, you will see these people are mentioned there. And you will see he has omitted certain names.
Is this Genesis?
No, Chronicles.
Chronicles.
He's omitted certain names, and the people who are omitted, you might think they're not significant, right? You might think he's just omitted to make look like nice figure 14. When we look, the people he's omitted, like one of the people name he's omitted, is within this line. Josiah begat Jeconiah and the brothers. But Josiah was the grandfather of Jeconiah. There's a middleman omitted, his name is Jehoiakim. Jehoiakim. When we go and find out Jehoiakim in the old history, there is a clear information from God saying, Jehoiakim, you are cursed. God curses Jehoiakim and says, you and all your descendants, none of them will ever have the right to the throne of David. And what Matthew does from the very beginning, he wants to make Jesus the son of David to sit on the throne of David. So if we had Jehoiakim in there, it's a self-defeating.
How do you spell that, sorry?
Jehoiakim.
Jehoiakim.
Jehoaikim. Jehoiakim.
Jehoiakim.
Yeah, it's like Matthew chapter 1, verse 10, 11, thereabouts, right? So now we find historical data and the motive why the Gospel of Matthew writer, whoever who wrote it, he took that name away because if he had Jehoiakim in there, then he cannot say Jesus is the son of David, because God curses Jehoiakim and anyone that comes from that line in the genealogy. So either he is making an error of history because he doesn't know history, or he's deliberately lying. That's example number one. Think about it later. Example number two. Take the next page. Just open up. We just open up the Bible. The next page. Same Matthew says, as was spoken by the prophets, that he shall be called a Nazarene. A Nazarene. So he's prophesying that Jesus was prophesied by people in the past by the prophets. If you go and ask any Christian scholar or any Jewish scholar, now or earlier, you would not find anywhere in the living tradition in which there was a prophet in the Jewish tradition who prophesied that he will be called a Nazarene. It simply doesn't exist.
In the Old Testament, so.
That's the Jewish tradition, the Old Testament.
I mean, the Old Testament's quite big, so...
Yeah, it doesn't exist. That's what I'm saying. Reflect on it later, because this is common knowledge. Jewish people highlight this. This is why one of the reasons why they don't accept him as the Messiah is because of all of these writings about him and so on. It's not reliable. So there is nothing from their prophetical books by any prophet who said he shall be called a Nazarene. My final example. He talks about during end of the time, end of Jesus Christ's ministry, there was a plot to crucify him, and the world was such that, you know what, the graves opened up, and there were dead bodies of the saints, opened up in multitudes, and they went to the city in multitudes. If that was a historical information, just imagine graves opening up here, and dead bodies in their skeleton waking up, and they're walking like zombies.
This is when Jesus rose from the dead, and then there were...
Yeah. If that happened here, and you are the only people talking about this, no other recorders, whether they're recording in the social media or people going talking to their friends, no one mentioned this. Not even the other Gospels. Not Luke, not Mark, not John, none of them. So information like this is expected to be written by other Gospels at least, because it's more...
They don't have to agree on every single...
Look. It's not something like this. It's resurrection of dead people going to the cities in multitude. The people who are atheists and Jews and Romans and pagans, they'll be talking about it in their chronicles, in their stories to their children, like this is what happened. It will be an evidence for the resurrection.
Yeah,
but no one talks about it.
Yeah. Why would it be spoken about in the Bible? Where else would it be spoken about in the other Gospels?
Other Gospels, no chroniclers, whether they're pagan or Jewish, no one talks about it. So if dead people came up from here and only you talked about it, and you went to the paper, the Sun or whatever, and no one else says, there's no corroboration, they will say, oh, it's a fishy story. I mean, what were you drinking at that time?